Incredible surprise, billionaire disguised as a common man, heartwarming gesture from a kind giant. Jake had always been the glue of Maplewood, Nebraska. With grease-smudged hands and a heart full of dreams, he worked tirelessly in his old garage. Much like the peeling paint and dilapidated tools surrounding him, life had taken its toll. But every evening, as Emily and Max rushed through the door with laughter, he felt like the richest man alive. He'd trade their giggles for nothing, believing in the warmth of family over wealth any day. With the annual fall festival around the corner, the town buzzed with excitement and uncertainty. Colorful leaves fluttered in the crisp air, yet beneath the surface, anxiety simmered. Word had spread about the factory's impending closure like a wildfire. Jake worried, a tight knot forming in his chest. The fear of losing everything loomed. He couldn't afford to let that happen to his children, their innocent dreams resting on his shoulders. "There's a lot we could do with a little magic, huh, Dad?" Max had said just the day before, his hopeful grin tearing at Jake's heart. How could he tell him that magic was running thin? He poured himself into helping neighbors, fixing old trucks, and cooking meals for families struggling to make ends meet. Pride bubbled warmly in him, he was part of something bigger. Yet, the weight of responsibility tugged at him, always. Just when he thought things couldn't get worse, rumors of a mysterious benefactor floated through town. Jake was fixing old Mr. Thompson's station wagon when Thomas swaggered in, a rugged handyman with a disarming smile. He wore well-worn jeans and a flannel shirt, blending effortlessly among the oil-stained floors. Jake didn't catch the glint of gold hidden beneath Thomas's simple facade, as he was too busy thinking of bills and the kids. "Need a hand with that?" Thomas asked, kneeling beside Jake, oil-stained hands ready to help. It was the kind of gesture that could lift spirits in the bleakest times. And in that moment, Jake appreciated the support the love one man could shower on another without expectations. Little did he know, Thomas sought the very connection he felt was fading from the world. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the festival approached, emotions ran high. Whispers of the benefactor grew louder, and the community fractured. Would the riches of someone else change everything for people like Jake? Jealousy simmered, dignity was wounded, and fear seeped into the cracks of the town. Jake sat cross-legged with Emily on their porch, cradling the weight of their world, watching the sunset paint the sky orange. Then came a night when Jake found a note tucked in his toolbox. It was playful, a suggestion that help was closer than he thought. The mystery drew him in, filling his heart with a flicker of hope against the shadows. But just when he thought he could trust the world again, he discovered Thomas's secret, a wealth that could mend or ruin the very fabric of their community. As night fell, Jake stood at a crossroads. Would he let himself accept the kindness he desperately needed, or would pride overshadow the way to survival? The festival lights may soon reflect a choice that could redefine his view of the American dream. With the heart of the town beating at its core, he knew he had decisions to make, skirting dangerously between embracing help and rejecting it outright. Jake sat in the dim light of his garage, the shadows creeping along the walls like doubt. His heart raced as he thought about Thomas and the hidden truth that could shatter everything: his pride, his sense of self, and most importantly, his children's dreams. The vibrant chatter from the festival preparations outside felt like a distant memory, a painful reminder of the joy he feared he'd lose. As he tightened a bolt on the old station wagon, thoughts of the note flickered in his mind. Someone wanted to help him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this benefactor was somehow connected to Thomas. The rugged handyman had arrived out of nowhere, offering support when he needed it most. But Jake wasn't sure he could trust that kindness without consequences. The town was falling apart at the seams. Could accepting help really stitch it back together? Max's laughter pierced through the clutter of his thoughts. The little boy and Emily played with an assortment of autumn leaves. Their joy lit up the dusk, and for a moment, everything was as it should be. But Jake knew that magic didn't last long, especially when the fairy tale world around them was crumbling. He glanced at the children, his heart swelling but tightening at the same time. "Let us go see what's happening at the festival," he finally said, wiping his hands on a rag and smiling through the worry. As they stepped outside, the kaleidoscope of colors danced in the soft evening light, each hue more vibrant than he could recall. But the laughter of the townsfolk was laced with unspoken tension. Jake felt it in the air, the whispers around him like a cold breeze brushing against the skin. As they walked through the festival grounds, vivid decorations adorned stalls and booths, yet the smiles on people's faces seemed strained. Jake caught snippets of conversations, worried murmurs about the factory's future and what it meant for families just like his. "Did you hear? A mysterious benefactor wants to save the factory," someone exclaimed, hope spilling from their lips like magic beans. But as quickly as it rose, skepticism followed. "It's too good to be true," another added with a shake of the head. Jake felt his gut tighten. This benefactor, whoever it was, could be their salvation or the cause of all their misery. And there was Thomas, casually leaning against a booth, that warm smile still in place, yet something about him felt sharp, like the edge of a knife hidden beneath a blanket of kindness. "Hey, Jake." Thomas waved, obviously catching Jake's gaze. The others turned to look as well, and Jake felt their judgment wash over him. Would they think he would accept help from someone like Thomas? The notion stirred trouble in his heart. "Hey," Jake replied slowly, caution evident in his voice. "Nice day for a festival." "Yeah," came the easy reply, but Jake focused on Thomas's eyes. There was something there, something that sparked urgency in his gut. As Emily and Max darted ahead, laughter trailing behind them, Jake felt the weight of the decision looming like a storm cloud. Would he allow his family to benefit, or would he struggle alone, shunning the thought of accepting charity from a man who seemed tattered yet all-knowing? "Jake!" Thomas called him back, stepping closer, lowering his voice. "I know about the factory. And I know about you. You can trust me," he said, sincerity flickering in his eyes. "What if I told you I can help?" The world around him dimmed, leaving only the hope and fear stirring inside. What could he possibly say? Would he risk it all on a friendship that felt laced with secrets? As the lights of the festival twinkled above, casting radiant patterns against their faces, Jake's heart raced. He was standing on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Would the coming days be filled with gratitude or despair? With the weight of his family's future resting in his hands, he took a deep breath, knowing that the next step could either bridge the gap of despair or plunge them deeper into uncertainty. And behind the veil of laughter and festive cheer, the answer lay. Hidden, waiting for him just around the corner. Would he dare to uncover it? Jake stood there, feeling the weight of Thomas's words hanging in the air like thick fog. His instincts screamed at him trust was a fragile thing, especially in times like these. He glanced over at Emily and Max as they raced off towards the cotton candy stand, their innocence on full display against the heaviness that filled him. "Jake," Thomas's tone shifted, more urgent now. "This isn't just about saving that factory. It's about saving our community." The sound of laughter and music faded into the background for a moment, the festival's vibrancy dimmed by the shadows of doubt creeping into Jake's heart. "What do you mean?" Jake asked, the tension in his throat tightening, each word a knot he couldn't untie. "There are things you don't know, things I can help you understand," Thomas said, his eyes locking onto Jake's with an earnestness that felt both reassuring and alarming. "Every family here is connected, Jake. We can pull together, but only if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone." "Pull together?" Jake echoed, skepticism draping over his thoughts. He had always prided himself on being self-sufficient. The more he thought about it, the more it felt like a dream tugging at his consciousness, one that he was afraid to embrace. What had ever come from depending on someone else? Look around, Thomas urged, gesturing towards families gathered around the booths. They're all scared. They need hope to hold on to, someone to believe in. I believe in you. Together, we can do this. Jake's gaze followed Thomas's finger, landing on familiar faces filled with worry. His neighbors. Friends. Were they really looking to him for something more? The thought sent warmth pooling in his chest, mingling with the fear that clawed at his insides. What if I fail? Jake whispered, the vulnerability in his voice revealing the warrior's uncertainty. Then we fail together, Thomas said simply, the corners of his mouth turning up into a wry smile. But think about it, how often do you get a chance to change lives? Not just for you, but for everyone here? Thomas paused, letting the words sink in. You're not just a father, Jake. You're a leader. Your family looks to you and so does this town. Suddenly, a loud cheer erupted from the carnival games nearby. It drew Jake's attention, but his heart remained tethered to this moment, heavy with the weight of possibility. All right, he finally said, wrestling with his decision. What do you need me to do? Meet me at the old factory tomorrow morning. Let us see what we can make happen. A gust of wind nudged through the festival, carrying the scent of popcorn and sweet cider. Children laughed while couples danced beneath the waving lights. All around him, life was vibrant. And yet Jake felt like he was standing at the edge of a diving board, staring down into an unknown pool below. With a nod, he mustered what courage he had left. Okay, he affirmed softly, still grappling with uncertainty, but also with the spark of hope igniting within him. As Thomas stepped back into the crowd, Jake's heart thundered against his ribs. He watched the glow of the festival dim in the encroaching dusk. Amid the laughter and cheer, he felt a shift inside him, a small but powerful change, like turning the key in a rusty lock. Would he be able to unlock something greater than his own fears? And as Emily tugged at his sleeve, excitement bubbling in her voice, Jake wondered if he could indeed piece together the dreams not just for himself but for the whole town. What lay ahead was uncertain, but in that fleeting moment, Jake understood the depth of his choice. He could no longer afford to stand by. Tomorrow held the promise of revelation. Would it bring the salvation they all sought, or was he merely inviting a storm? The morning sun crept over the horizon, casting a golden hue over the town as Jake pulled on his worn boots. Each creak of the floorboards beneath him felt like a countdown, urging him toward the old factory where he was to meet Thomas. His mind was a whirlpool of doubt and potential, the promise of change dancing on the edge of his thoughts. That he glanced at Emily, still fast asleep, her face peaceful and untroubled. A surge of determination rushed through him. For her sake, and for the sake of their community, he had to try. If Thomas was right, a spark of hope was worth the risk of failure. After breakfast, he made the short drive to the factory. The roads felt emptier than usual, as if the whole town were holding its breath alongside him. As he parked and stepped out, the old building stood before him like a sleeping giant, rust clinging to its sides and weeds breaking through the cracked pavement. The heart of the community was in jeopardy, and here he was, standing at its threshold. Jake! Thomas waved, his presence a beacon of reassurance. He stood with a small group of townspeople, all wearing expressions that reflected a mix of anxiety and hope. Hey, Jake replied, forcing a smile as he approached. The nervousness shimmered like a fog, stubbornly clinging to him, yet it began to fade as he looked into the eyes of his friends. They were counting on him. Glad you made it, Thomas said, clapping him on the shoulder. We've got a lot to discuss. You ready to dive in? Jake nodded. What's the plan? Without hesitation, Thomas began outlining the ideas that had been brewing in his mind. They talked about community meetings, fundraisers, and strategies to revive the factory. Each plan felt like a piece of a puzzle clicking into place for Jake. As they huddled close, sharing thoughts and dreams, something shifted within him. The sound of laughter from the nearby playground reminded him of the joy that this community harbored, but it also echoed the fears that threatened it. He took a deep breath and said, "We need to show everyone that this isn't just talk. We need action." "Well said." Someone from the group shouted, the spark of enthusiasm rippling through them all. The mood brightened, the initial heaviness lifting as they shared ideas. There was laughter now, too, a gentle hum of camaraderie rising as they prepared for the challenges ahead. Hours passed, each moment charged with energy. They mapped out plans, created flyers for a community meeting, and outlined how to rally support. Hope bubbled between them like a buoyant tide, and Jake found himself feeling lighter than he had in ages. But as they wrapped up, Thomas's expression turned serious. "Jake, we can't do this without full transparency. There's something I haven't told you about the factory and the town's history. You need to hear it." Unease coiled in Jake's stomach. "What do you mean?" "It's complicated. And it involves key players you wouldn't expect. We're intertwined in ways that might shock you." Thomas's voice held an edge of trepidation that made Jake's heart race. As Jake gripped the edge of the table, adrenaline coursed through him. What could this mean? Was there something lurking just beneath the surface that could shift everything? "Tell me," he urged, his voice barely above a whisper, the shadows of the factory creeping back into focus. The air felt electric, the space charged with the weight of anticipation. Whatever Thomas was about to reveal could change everything. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he waited, unsure of what revelations could possibly await them. What hidden truths lay buried beneath the factory's facade, and how would they shape the town's fate? Jake could almost hear the heartbeat of the factory around him, a rhythm blending seamlessly with the pounding in his chest. He leaned in closer, his curiosity overtaking his anxiety. "Thomas, just tell me. What is going on?" With a heavy sigh, Thomas glanced around at the gathered friends. Their faces were etched with concern. "The factory, it's not just a relic of our past," he began, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "It was built on the dreams of those who came before us. But it was also a place of exploitation. The founder, Harold Monk, was a businessman who used the labor of our ancestors to build his fortune. And after he passed, his family took the easy route, abandoning the factory to rot." The silence that followed felt suffocating. Jake's heart sank as the weight of Thomas's words settled in. "So, what does this have to do with us?" "I'm getting there," Thomas replied, his eyes narrowing as he searched for the right words. "What many don't know is that Harold's grandson has been quietly buying up every scrap of property around here, but he's also planning to sell the factory to a developer who will tear it down and build luxury condominiums." Gasps echoed around the table, and Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "We can't let that happen," a woman called out from the back. It was Clara, a single mother who relied on the factory for her livelihood. "We need to fight. We need to protect our community." "Exactly," Thomas said, nodding fervently. "But it's more than just protecting the building. We need to reclaim our history. We need to show that this community won't let its heart be ripped out." A murmur of agreement went through the group. Ideas began to volley back and forth like a lively game. They spoke of protests, social media campaigns, and reaching out to local news outlets. Jake felt the fire igniting within him again. This was not just about reviving a factory, it was about reclaiming their story, their dignity. Then, as they discussed the upcoming community meeting, Thomas leaned closer to Jake. "There's one more thing. Harold Monk's grandson, he's not just a businessman. He's a player in the game of money and power, but he's also got a soft spot. He visits the town occasionally, but he hides his identity. He could be anyone." "Wait, what? You mean he's here? In our town?" Thomas nodded solemnly. "We might need to get close to him, learn more about his plans. But it's a risk. If he finds out what we're plotting." Jake knew the dangers, yet the thrill of potential drove him forward. "We have to try. What if we appeal to his better nature? What if we invite him to the community meeting? He might listen to us. A genuine approach could change everything. That's dangerous, Thomas replied, his eyes wide, but Jake could see the spark of hope igniting there. But if we do it right, it might just work. As the group broke into smaller teams to strategize, a sense of urgency persevered in the air. Jake felt alive, the burden of worry lifting slightly with each whispered conversation. Though the stakes were high, they were not alone anymore, but deep down, Jake sensed an unexamined fear gripping his heart. Was reaching out to the billionaire the right move? Could they risk their dreams on an unknown promise? Jake looked around, taking in the faces of his friends, each one a testament to the life and struggle of the community. What if he rejects us? He thought. His mind raced, trying to frame how actions would unfold. They were standing on the brink of something greater than themselves. Yet the question loomed, would they be ready for what came next? As they neared the day of the meeting, another thought flickered like a distant flame. What hidden motivations lay behind the facade of the seemingly kind billionaire? And would his heart be kind enough to match their hope? Jake stood on the steps of the factory, the sun beginning to dip toward the horizon, casting a warm glow over his friends who busily set up for the community meeting. There was a mix of excitement and anxiety in the air, the kind that clung to the skin like warmth from a fire. Yet, his heart raced with a whirlpool of doubts. "Jake!" Clara called, waving him over. She had a determined look on her face, one that melted away his trepidation. "Can you help me with these flyers? We need to make sure everyone knows the meeting is happening. This is our moment." "Sure thing." He seized the stacks of paper from her, the buzz of chatter enveloping him. Everywhere, people were talking, sharing ideas, forming bonds. This wasn't just about a building anymore, it was about unity, hope, and the fight for their future. As they worked together, Jake absorbed the sound of laughter and whispered concerns. While their goal felt daunting, moments of genuine connection reminded him of his love for this community. He glanced at the crowd, faces familiar and cherished, each one filled with determination and resilience. His thoughts drifted back to the grandson of Harold Monk. The mystery loomed heavily over their effort. Was it truly a good idea to reach out? What if this man laughed in their faces? "Hey, you good?" Clara's voice anchored him back. Her eyes searched his, concern etched across her brow. "Yeah, just thinking. About the meeting?" "Yeah." Jake ran a hand through his hair, the worry churning inside him like a storm. What if he shows? What if it goes all wrong? She leaned in closer, her voice low but fierce. "Then we show him why we're not backing down. If he sees us here, united, he might remember we're not just names on a list or faces in a crowd. We're real people." The confidence in her voice made something inside him tighten with belief. "You're right. He needs to understand what this place means to us." Soon, the sun dipped below the horizon, and the crowd thickened. Jake stood at the front, the adrenaline coursing through him like fire. He glanced over his shoulder at the faded red factory, the history it held, the dreams it represented. Every brick whispered the stories of those who had come before. Moments later, people began filling the seats set up under the old oak tree, eager faces illuminated by strings of lights. Excitement hung thick in the air, but so did an undercurrent of fear. They were pouring their hearts into this meeting, and what lay ahead was still a mystery. "Welcome, everyone," Thomas called out, taking the lead. The murmurs quieted as people turned their attention to him. "We're here because this factory is more than just a building. It's the legacy of our ancestors and a symbol of our fight for community." Applause followed, a wave of sound that echoed through the night. Jake felt his heart swell in his chest. He could sense the hope igniting amongst them, a collective warmth that pushed away the shadows of doubt. As Thomas continued, the gathering surged with enthusiasm. But right then, Jake's eyes caught a figure at the edge of the crowd. Clad in a simple jacket, he watched intently, obscured slightly by shadows. His heart jumped. Could it be Harold Monk's grandson? Jake shifted, casting a quick glance at the others, but they were too engrossed in the speech to notice. Should he approach this figure? The stakes suddenly felt even higher. He took a deep breath, the reality dawning on him. This was their moment to face the unknown. Could he muster the courage? Did he dare approach the man whose decisions could alter their future? With that thought, Jake's instincts kicked in. He stepped toward the figure. The crowd continued its raucous chatter in the background, but every step felt heavier, the weight of uncertainty pressing down. He had only one chance to leap into the dark. What would happen when he confronted the man behind the mask? Jake moved slowly through the sea of faces, his heart pounding in time with each step. The figure remained still, almost a shadow among the polyester parkas and worn jeans that surrounded him. As he drew closer, Jake noticed the man's eyes, intense and thoughtful. This was no ordinary onlooker. He was part of the unfolding story, the thread woven tightly into the fabric of their shared history. "Excuse me." Jake's voice found its way through the noise, a gentle interruption. The crowd's laughter faded into an expectant hush. The man turned, meeting Jake's gaze, and for a fleeting moment, Jake felt the weight of 1,000 unspoken words hanging between them. "Jake, right?" The man's voice was low, yet it carried an undeniable authority. "Clara spoke of you." Jake nodded, struggling to catch his breath. "Yeah, I saw you standing here. I hope I wanted to hear." The man interrupted, raising a hand. "All of it. What you all believe in." Jake's mind raced. Was this truly Harold Monk's grandson, the very man who held their future in his hands? He swallowed hard, feeling a blend of fear and hope skimming through his veins. "We're ready to fight for this factory, for our community. It's not just brick and mortar to us. It's our home." A flicker of something crossed the man's face, curiosity or perhaps empathy. Jake took the plunge, emboldened by the weight of the moment. "You might not know us, or the struggles we've faced. But we are here because we believe in our history, in each other." The man regarded him silently, the gentleness of his gaze now more pronounced. "I do know about the struggles. I've seen the reports, the statistics. But there's a difference between knowing and truly understanding." The crowd was murmuring again, but Jake felt as if they were in their own bubble, one that held infinite potential for connection. "We're not here to complain. We want to find solutions. We don't want the factory to vanish into the past." "Then lead me." The man's voice was steady, inviting. "Show me what this means to you. Let me see the faces, the stories." A sudden rush of energy coursed through Jake. Tonight is the first step. We're gathering to share just that. Everyone has a voice, a story to tell. It's about being heard. Then let us listen." The man nodded, and there was a sincerity in his words that Jake hadn't expected. Thomas's voice drifted over, announcing the next speaker. Jake turned briefly, then back to the man. "You'll stay?" The man smiled slightly, the tension easing around his eyes. "I will. But tell me, what comes next? After tonight?" Jake hesitated, the weight of the future crashing down. It still felt rocky and uncertain. "I don't know. We hope to inspire change. But we need someone to believe in us." "Believe," the man echoed, a spark igniting behind his expression. "That's where it starts." As they returned to the crowd, Jake felt a mixture of exhilaration and nervousness. He had taken a step toward the unknown. But would it be enough? Could this moment really shift the tide for the factory, for their community? With Thomas wrapping up, the crowd erupted into applause, voices melding into a tide of hope. But Jake's eyes remained fixed on the man beside him, who now seemed caught in contemplation, a hint of ambition stirring in his expression, and suddenly, without warning, the man turned to Jake, his eyes piercing. "What if I told you that I could help more than just listen?" Jake's heart skipped a beat. What was he suggesting? Was this the change they needed, but before he could voice his thoughts, the man continued, "Meet me after the meeting. There's so much to discuss." What did that mean? Hope mixed with fear again, pulling at Jake's thoughts. What would happen when they discovered what was truly possible? The meeting buzzed with energy as Jake tried to absorb the weight of what had just happened. The crowd slowly dissipated, people drifting into groups where conversation spilled over like color from a painter's palette. But Jake remained still, core memories swirling in his mind. What had begun as a fight for a factory now had the potential to become something bigger, something almost unimaginable. "Jake!" Clara's voice broke through his thoughts, snapping him back to the moment. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, her cheeks flushed. "Did you see? Thomas was amazing up there. People are really feeling it tonight." "Yeah," Jake smiled, but his heart wasn't fully in it. "It was good. But did you see that guy? He's Harold Monk's grandson." Clara raised an eyebrow. "You mean the one who talked to you? What did he say?" "He wants to meet after." Jake bit his lip, uncertainty gnawing at him. He's willing to listen. But what does that even mean? What do you think it means?" Clara leaned in closer, concern mixing with curiosity. "This could change everything for us." Jake looked around the room, faces lighting up in animated discussion. It was the kind of energy that had been missing for too long. "Yeah, but there's a lot riding on this. What if he listens?" And then Clara placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "We can't stay scared, Jake. We've fought too hard. You have to give this a chance." She had a point. They had spent countless nights worrying about their futures, about what would happen if the factory closed its doors for good. This was a moment, a spark of hope emerging in what felt like the twilight of their existence. "I guess I've just seen too much. You know?" He sighed, shaking his head. "We've had so many promises broken. It's hard to believe this could be different." "I understand that," Clara said softly. "But maybe this is the change we've been waiting for. It's a risk sure, but it could also be a new beginning. For all of us." As they talked, more people began to gather around. Thomas joined them, his expression a blend of triumph and determination. "So? What's the plan, Jake? Are we just going to wait for the next opportunity, or are we going to seize the moment?" The energy in the room was contagious, and Jake felt the stirrings of hope once again. But a flicker of doubt remained. What if this was another dead end? Would they be strong enough to weather that disappointment? "Listen," Thomas continued, catching Jake's eye. "If we want them to believe in us, we need to show them who we are. Your stories, our stories, they matter. We need to put ourselves out there." Jake nodded, the determination flooding back into him. "You're right. We do have stories. They're our power." Clara smiled, excitement bubbling over. "Then let us follow this through. We'll go after the meeting. Show him what we're made of." The group's energy surged, and Jake could feel it in the pit of his stomach. Hope and apprehension collided, all skimming the surface of a change that was begging to break free. As the crowd began to shrink, Jake turned to the spot where Harold's grandson had stood just moments earlier. He could still picture that intensity in his eyes, the way he had reached out. Jake took a deep breath and let confidence wash over him. "All right, I'll meet with him. We won't let fear hold us back anymore." Clara squeezed his arm. "That's the spirit." Yet, as excitement bubbled up within him, a deepening question loomed just beyond the edge of his mind. What if he believed in them more than they believed in themselves? What if this man had the power to shape their fate, but they didn't know how to accept the change he might offer? Would they be ready for the challenges that lie ahead? With a sense of finality, Jake made his way toward the designated meeting spot, his heart racing with a mix of dread and exhilaration. What awaited him in that conversation? Could this moment truly shift everything for their community? Jake stepped outside, the cool night air washing over him like a refreshing balm. The sounds of laughter and chatter faded behind him, replaced by the quiet hum of the streetlights overhead. He took a moment to gather his thoughts. What if Harold's grandson, Sam, was still around? The thought quickened Jake's pulse. He hadn't envisioned this meeting feeling quite so surreal. Yet, here he was on the brink of a conversation that could change everything. "Hey, Jake." A familiar voice broke through the silence. It was Tina, her arms crossed with a playful frown. "Where are you off to? A secret mission?" "Something like that," he replied, offering a small smile. "Just a meeting. Some big news. Don't leave us hanging." She called after him, laughter mixing with concern. "Remember, we're all in this together." Those words echoed in Jake's mind as he approached the designated corner. The dim light cast shadows across the pavement, and he felt a wave of doubt wash over him. Was he truly ready to share his community's struggles with someone who likely lived a completely different life? Someone who might not understand their fight. He didn't have long to dwell on it. Sam stood there, hands shoved deep in his pockets, a genuine look of curiosity on his face. The sheen of wealth wasn't immediately obvious, softened by a simple t-shirt and jeans. Yet there was something confident about his posture, an unspoken command that made Jake's stomach tighten. "Jake, right?" Sam said with an easy smile. It was disarming, and Jake felt the tension in his shoulders ease just a bit. "Yeah. You're Sam," Jake replied, making sure to keep his tone steady. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course. I wanted to hear your side of things," Sam said, his eyes widening just slightly. "Everyone's been talking about your campaign. It's impressive." Jake took a breath, heart racing. "We're just trying to save our jobs. This community means everything to us." Sam looked thoughtful for a moment, his gaze piercing yet compassionate. "I understand that. My grandfather always said people make a place. It's not just about buildings or companies." Jake hesitated, searching for the right words. "You know, it's hard to believe someone like you would care about what happens to us. You have your life set." "I swear, I'm not here to play savior," Sam replied, a hint of a grin emerging. "But I believe there's potential here. And if we can build something together." His words hung in the air, and Jake felt a spark ignite inside him. Could this really be a possibility? The transition from doubt to anticipation was electric. "What do you have in mind?" Jake asked, unable to hide his intrigue. Sam ran a hand through his hair and took a step forward. "Let us start by hearing your stories. Each one matters. I want to understand what you and your community need and how I can help." Jake's heart swelled. This was different. This wasn't just another meeting with a nameless executive. This felt personal. And for the first time, hope nudged its way into the front of his mind. "We've got plenty of stories," Jake said, passion creeping into his voice. "But it'll take more than just words. We'll need action." Sam nodded, enthusiasm glinting in his eyes. "Action it is, then." As they delved deeper into their conversation, Jake's doubts began to melt away, making room for the dreams he thought were fading. But as they walked through potential plans, one question lingered, heavy in the air between them: what if the change they were seeking wasn't just about saving the factory, but a revival of their whole community? Jake's heart raced at the thought, and he realized there was more at stake than he initially believed. Would they have the courage to embrace whatever awaited them beyond the shadows of fear and uncertainty? As the night deepened, they found their rhythm, both of them unknowingly stepping into a future that could redefine everything. The sun rose over Maplewood, saturating the town in golden light, mixing with the crisp morning air. Jake stood at the factory's entrance, the building towering behind him like a silent protector. Today, everything hung in the balance: hope, fear, and dreams intertwined like threads in a tapestry. Jake felt electric, his heart racing with anticipation as dozens of townsfolk gathered around him, faces alive with expectation. Clara, Max, and Emily were by his side, their spirits warm and bright. The community had come together on this, the day of reckoning, like loyal ships ready to sail into uncharted waters. "Today, we make our voices heard," Jake announced, the strength behind his words buoyed by this united force. The crowd cheered, a wave of determination surging through them. This was the moment they had all been working for, each of their hearts beating in rhythm with the collective drum of hope. Sam stood in the background, observing, his demeanor casual yet focused, eager to learn and listen. Jake caught his eye and nodded. They were ready. The air crackled with energy as they moved inside the factory's aged walls. Here, the memories of labor and dedication echoed, promising future connections and stories yet to be told. As they entered the main hall, Jake stepped up onto a makeshift stage. The room filled with the familiar faces of friends, neighbors, and families, each light reflecting a shared history that pulsed with potential. "Welcome, everyone. Today we stand as a community, united in our dream to save not just the factory, but our home." The applause roared through the space, echoing off the walls. Every clap ignited a flicker of hope in Jake's chest, and he could feel the collective spirit lifting them all. He glanced at Sam, who was now taking out his phone, ready to document the rich stories to be shared. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as the townspeople began sharing their tales. Clara spoke first, passionately recalling nights spent worrying over bills and sleepless moments spent dreaming of a better future for her children. A hush fell over the crowd, tears glistened in some eyes while others nodded in solidarity. Each story unveiled the struggles faced and the love that kept them fighting. One by one, others took their turns, revealing raw emotions of fear, resilience, and unwavering hope. As they shared, a transformation began igniting in Sam's eyes. He saw their strength, their steadfast commitment. The factory was more than bricks and mortar, it was a cradle of dreams, laughter, heartache, and tenacity. Jake watched, heart swelling with pride as every story wove a stronger bond among them. This unity, this shared purpose was more potent than he dared to hope. And as they spoke, he realized that it wasn't just about saving the factory anymore, it was about reclaiming their identities, their dignity as a community. When the final speaker wrapped up their heartfelt story, the room erupted in applause once again, invigorated by the honesty and spirit of resilience displayed. Jake could feel the magic of their connection, a warmth spread through the room that sang of impossible dreams turning into realities. Sam stepped up, his expression sincere and invigorated by the testimonies. "I want to help. I see what this community means. I know my grandfather's legacy is tied to this place, but it doesn't have to define its future. Let us change that narrative together. Show me how we can make investment not just a transaction, but part of a partnership." The crowd gasped. A murmur spilled through the room, excitement buzzing from every corner. There was a glimmer of trust igniting within them. Sam's willingness opened doors they thought were long shut. Hope flourished. For the first time, they felt the shift of possibility whispering through them. Jake's heart raced, buoyed by a tidal wave of optimism. "Are we ready to walk this path together? Will we embrace this chance?" he bellowed. "This won't be easy, but together we can lift this factory from the ashes and breathe new life into our community." "Yes!" shouted Clara, raising her hands, igniting an eruption of cheers. "We are ready." Laughter and cries of joy filled the hall as Sam encouraged ideas and solutions. Jake felt both the warmth of familial comfort and the vigor of an unexpected friendship begin to flourish. They had broken through the shadows, and now they were ready to rebuild, to honor the past while crafting a future woven with hope and solidarity. As they wrapped up the meeting, Jake watched his children giggle in a corner, lost in their laughter. The burdens he carried felt a little lighter, his heart swelling with gratitude. He stepped back into this dream, a vision of unity holding them together like a safety net. They would fight their factory, their community, their stories. Today marked a new beginning, a pivotal moment that would breathe life into everything they cherished. Jake turned to Sam, determination in their gaze. "Let us be the change Maplewood needs." Here stood the foundation of a dream reborn, shimmering with limitless possibilities. They were ready to face the storms together, hand in hand, hearts alight with unwavering hope. Now, it's time for you to join this journey of inspiration. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to show your support. Feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Real supporters understand the power of unity and hope. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your engagement matters more than you know.